Starting the recording now. And yeah, so we're just, this is our casual catching up time. But Sherry, I know you said you have to leave by 7. I don't think, is the county executive joining tonight or no? Is he?
I don't think so. There's
I don't think so either. I didn't have an RSVP.
I can't remember if he's doing another one of his COVID conversations tonight. And then there's also, I'm leaving to go to, there's a fundraiser for Mary Jane Shimsky. So a lot of people are gonna be there. So I don't think they're right at 7. I did tell them I might be a few minutes late, but
okay.
You know.
All right. Well, we'll see who else we've got some of our.
But I mean, I could give a quick update if you want me to, or if not, it's fine too.
Yeah, I mean, we might as well since we're recording it. And Michelle, you tell me if otherwise, but we'll see how our open networking time goes and see who joins. And
okay, I'm flexible.
Yeah. All right, got a couple other people. So yeah, so how is everyone? I won't do our formal introductions yet, but I'm Elizabeth now, the executive director of the chamber. I think most of you know me, but since this is our open networking time, anyone want to say hello or introduce yourself in our open few minutes before the official meeting start? Or just listen. I know everyone wants to just join and just listen.
Just waiting to see who pops on.
Yeah, we'll see. All right. Let's see. Oh, also, here comes. I guess we have had about 41 RSVPs tonight, which I think is the most RSVPs we've had in a long time.
That's great.
We'll see. Yeah, we'll see how many people arrive. But thanks
my
to those of you who are
day, my third chamber meeting.
Oh my gosh, everybody has the chamber meeting like last Wednesday of the month or something for you. Yeah, and for anyone who's just joining, you come in with you're on mute and video off, so feel free to unmute yourself and put your video on when and if you're ready. This is our open networking time. Hey Dina, when we're just gonna all kind of chat until it's time for the official meeting start, like we like to pretend we used to do when we were in person together, and you just sort of chat with who's ever there before the official.
So much.
I know.
Yeah.
I know. Do you at least have a glass of wine, Sherry? I don't have. I just have my.
I've had 1.5 already. It's actually sitting on the table, so I'll probably just have my son bring it over to me at some point.
Yeah.
If I start drinking at 5, come on. It's like my big comfort.
Sure. Yeah, you got to do what you got to do. Sure, of course. Right. Yeah. How's everybody else? How are you, Dina?
I'm good. Good. Yeah. It's a good day. Everybody's healthy and happy once again. So that's a good day.
Very good news. Oh, I'm glad to hear that.
Just trying to get an appointment, for the vaccine for my mom, and it's just Sherry has tried to help out a lot.
Yeah.
But yeah,
it's tricky. Yeah, my mom managed to had her first shot a weekend ago.
Oh, great.
And at Northwell Health in Mount Kisco, or Northern Westchester Hospital, is that what it's called?
Yeah.
And so,
but
great. Yeah, she was like constantly refreshing every possible thing, so it was
one
tricky.
of the few times I wish I was older.
I know, right? Oh, we got some more people joining us now. So, all right. Well, as people are joining it, I mean, if anyone wants to jump in and start chatting, feel free. If not, we'll give it a second, and then maybe Sherry does want to give us a little update. Oh,
can you? This is Roger Shivers. You can hear me?
Hi, Roger. Yeah, we can hear you.
Good.
We can hear you. You're not on video.
I don't know. It's my camera's not coming on. It's not happy tonight.
Okay. Oh, okay.
Just to give a little advice. I got my COVID shot today at Columbia in Manhattan, and I think that's a good site to explore. It's a really big facility, very well run, and very, very good. And I've heard that people have had good luck signing on to that site. So I pursue that as a recommendation.
Roger, can I ask you, is your doctor affiliated with them?
No,
or
he is not affiliated with it, but somebody I know is knew about it and recommended it to me.
Okay.
There seemed to be, I don't know, a lucky time that I signed up, and it just took the appointment for the, I did it on Sunday, and here it's Wednesday. I got the shot, and it was just a great experience. So
did you go directly through the Columbia, or did you go through the New York State portal?
No, New York State portal.
Yeah, so sometimes I
It's
think
not on it's not on New York State portal.
Oh, it's not on New York State.
It's not on the New York
Okay.
State portal. Yeah, you're not going to find.
I know some people have just put in different addresses in different, in the city to try to get other locations to pop up.
Well, if you want to take a trip to Plattsburgh, 409 miles one way, you can get a shot.
Yeah, I heard about that too.
Yeah, I heard about that.
A little cool. So,
Right.
Actually, last I checked, I'm not sure. I think that all those appointments were gone unless they added more.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. So in Plattsburgh and Binghamton.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I was told to, that 833 number that the state has,
Mm-hmm.
You can just keep calling it, because once in a while they have cancellations and they come about, but try that Columbia site. That's really,
I will. Thank you.
That's an excellent place. I highly recommend it if you can get it.
Great. Thanks, everyone. I'm so excited to see so many people showing up for our pre-official meeting, like chat networking time. This is our, still very informal part. Our official meeting will kick off at 7. But this is a good time to, for everyone to imagine we were in person together and just waiting for the meeting to start, and we're able to, sort of catch up and say hello before the official meeting. So if you open the chat box, I always recommend that everyone, introduce themselves in the chat box and put any information about your business and your contact information so we can see everything there. And we always share that chat after the fact. It'll be in our newsletter that comes out this week with the replay of this. But thanks for joining in. Anyone else want to jump in and say anything or introduce yourselves in the meantime?
I'll say hi. I'm not shy.
Go for it, Christina. It's good to see you here. Thanks for coming.
It's nice to see you. Well, maybe I've overcome my shyness. I'm less shy than I used to be. My name is Christine O'Neill. I stalked Elizabeth Nell because I saw her in the paper and we had a lot in common. And so she invited me here. I moved to Hastings about 2 years ago from the city, and I work with leaders and entrepreneurs and emerging entrepreneurs. I work for myself, and I don't really know what else I was going to say. I live by Antoinette's, which is wonderful if you've never been for a cup of coffee. And nice to be here.
Well, great. Well, thanks for joining us and checking out the chamber, and hopefully we keep your interest and you get more involved with us if you're interested.
Thank you.
Yeah. Anyone else? Or if no one else, I mean, you can feel, go ahead.
Yeah, so my name is Ali, and we are business owner in Dobbsbury, New York. So we have a burger restaurant in the Rivertowns Square. So
What?
What's that?
Yeah, which restaurant is it?
We started as a Burger I Am. We are in the process of rebranding because we started as a franchise, and that corporation have some issues, so they're going in their struggles. So we are in the process of rebranding ourselves.
Good to know.
Yeah.
Well, nice to meet you. Thanks for joining.
I just ate there, Ollie. Good job.
Oh yeah.
Not tonight, but recently.
Yeah, I mean we are rebranding. We're adding a lot of new menu items. I know, Michelle, I've reached out to you earlier, so I've been in touch with you.
What are you doing in terms of your relationship with the original franchise? So you're completely separating from them?
Yes. Yeah,
you're going to be like a standalone one operator,
correct.
really nice.
Yeah, independently run. We've been doing that anyway, so we're just changing the name.
Well, I'm watching the chat and I like seeing the interactions going on with everyone relating to Becca. And don't forget, if you put your information in the chat, don't forget to include your website or your contact info so people know how to find you. I think I maybe noticed a couple of people didn't have that. Well, great. Well, thank you for introducing yourself. And so nice to see a bunch of new faces. And like I said, when we get into our official meeting, we'll kick everything really off. I wonder if maybe just quickly, because I know Shari has to jump off. Shari, do you have any key updates you think we should hear?
Yeah,
Since it sounds like County Executive won't be here. Okay.
Thank you. I'm Sherry Rosen Asher, for those of you who don't know me. I have a new title now, even for those of you who do know me. So I am now the Director of Policy and Programs for Small Business and Chambers of Commerce for Westchester County. And I work directly with the County Executive. And this last 11 months have been a huge learning curve in what to do and how we can help our small and local businesses. I'm part of the Office of Economic Development as well. Our website for the Office of Economic Development is called Westchester Catalyst. And we have initiated, instituted, and created a myriad of programs to help local and small businesses, most of which came from, we surveyed small business owners at the beginning of the pandemic to find out what everybody needed, and we've kept in touch, and then we've kind of built our programs to help with that. So initially, what everybody needed was help understanding the PPPs and the IDA loans, and here we are back again, and people need help with a second job and everything of the PPPs. People needed to know how to get their business online. People needed to know about e-commerce. People needed to know about HR issues around COVID and things like that. So we ran a series of webinars. The recordings all live on our website at Westchester Catalyst. We also took CARES money, and we took $14 million of that and gave it directly to small businesses and chambers of commerce. So this chamber was the recipient of a $25,000 grant, which was awesome. And you know, we've been making sure that we get information out as quickly as we get it. So Michelle and Nick and Elizabeth will tell you that I email all the time, and I can't promise that everything that I send will be pertinent to everybody in the chamber, but everything I send will be important to somebody in the chamber. So we try to share programs, or if there's loans or grants or updates from the federal government, from the state government, from the county government. In terms of COVID and vaccines, the county center was designated by the governor as a regional hub for vaccines. So it is a state-run, or they took it over, whatever, state takeover of a county property. And the vaccines that the state sends go to Westchester Medical Center, who then is in charge of vaccinating, and where the county is helping is with public safety and crowd management and database management and things like that. The website, which sucks and is frustrating everybody's parents, is the state. So, you know, I'm not taking any responsibility for that, but I will tell you that, you know, and I'm sure we've all heard our new president speak. And up until last Tuesday, we had no federal response to this COVID crisis. So that's not me being political, that's just a fact. Although those who know me know that I am political, but in this case, that's just a fact. So in the last week, you know, he just came on yesterday to say that, I mean, there'll be millions more vaccines available. So that's the good news. We're going to be able to ramp up the program a little more. However, there's still the issue of where to give the vaccines, who gives the vaccines, things like that. When you hear stories about vaccines that are sitting around and they went bad and they didn't get into people's arms, those are not the vaccines that the state is sending to the county. Those are the federal vaccines that they're sending to the independent pharmacies for the nursing homes and the assisted living facilities. So it's a completely separate pool of vaccines. But if anybody is having trouble making appointments, reach out to me, because there are a couple of different sources. And someone had mentioned the Columbia, and even if your doctors aren't in Columbia doctors, they have their own website and phone bank that they've set up for the vaccines that they get. The problem has been that nobody knows how many vaccines they're getting. And so part of why it's hard to make an appointment is that here in Westchester, they're not making appointments if they don't know they have the vaccines. There's been issues in Brooklyn and other places where people have appointments and they get there and there's no vaccines. So, it's a slow process, but please remember it's only been going on for a couple of weeks to the general public, and we're still focusing on people over the age of 65. And I'm looking around this Zoom, and many of you are not there yet. So many of us young people won't be getting it till the spring or the summer. And the other problem that we have is there's a whole pool of people who want the vaccine and can't get it. Then there's a whole pool of people who do not want the vaccine and are very skeptical. And because this is a herd immunity thing, people need to get vaccinated. So we'll worry about the people who are skeptical after we get the vaccines and the people who want them. But please understand that most of this, we're just following the orders of the state. 2 quick updates. The county executives of the Mid-Hudson region did agree to initiate or whatever high school sports. So basically, the state told the counties, you decide if we should have high school sports again. The counties could then decide, and then the schools have to come up with a plan if they're going to do this, which sports and when. So that may affect some of you who are parents of kids who play sports. So there'll be more. That just happened. They just put out the statement, I think either earlier today or yesterday. So that's something that didn't exist before, now it does. The other thing is that for the last month and a half, there have been places in Westchester that have been yellow zones, or Fort Chester was orange. And the governor lifted those today. So the restrictions that don't apply. The metrics that they use to determine if something was orange or yellow are different metrics than they decided to use now. There are almost 12,000 active cases in Westchester right now, which is almost what we had at the height of it. However, the flip side is that there's much fewer hospitalizations. So we have about 525 people who are hospitalized with COVID right now, and that's been consistent over the last 3 weeks. So 6 weeks ago, we had almost nobody. Then all of a sudden, we had 300, 400, 500, and it's leveled off. I'm also a contact tracer in my spare time. And so the contact tracing, I can tell you anecdotally that every single person that I've spoken to, it was a result of family get-togethers and friend get-togethers. It was, I asked them, have you done anything? No, I haven't gone anywhere. Have you gotten together with people? No, just Christmas. No, just New Year's. No, I went out to lunch with my girlfriend and then her husband came. So, I just want to reiterate the wear a mask or 2, as they're saying now, and socially distance. And, I don't want to discourage anyone from going to restaurants, but so many of them now have like ionization filters and things so you can feel safe, but just do whatever makes you feel comfortable. But please try to avoid, large gatherings, because we're never going to get through this if we don't all kind of obey the rules, So I put my email into the chat. Certainly Elizabeth, Nick, and Michelle know how to find me. And, I look forward to doing more with you guys, and when I don't have to leave to go to another meeting. So if you have any questions, reach out to me. I'm always available, and I'm happy to answer them. And I encourage everybody to check out westchestercatalyst.com, and specifically the Business First initiatives, because that's about our grants and loans and mentor programs and programs for entrepreneurs and programs to help small businesses pivot. So there's a lot of stuff there, and it's worth spending a few minutes. So, okay.
Thank you so much. And I did paste the link to Westchester Catalyst in the chat box, but for people who are just getting here now, I'll also post it again. And thank you. Thanks for being here. I know you had to jump off early, so thanks for everyone.
My pleasure. Okay, and if there's anything I could do for anybody, please.
Thank you.
Okay, stay safe.
Thank you. Thanks. All right. Well, now this can start as our official kickoff to the meeting. Let me copy and paste the link to the agenda into the chat box. So if you want to follow along with the agenda, you can see it there in the Google Drive, or if it's easier, I can also just copy the PDF into the chat box. But let's officially kick off this meeting. So shall I start us off with the call to order and welcome and then hand it off? Okay, I'm doing that. All right, so trying to be very official of the board. So welcome everyone. For anyone who's just joined, we did have our little pre-15-minute kind of casual networking, which ended up in a little update from Sherry Rosen Asher, which you can all watch in the replay if you're interested. But thanks everyone for joining. This is a great group we have joining so far. It's a nice big meeting. Our agenda tonight, as you can see, is we are going to, well, Sherry spoke in place of County Executive Latimer. Sometimes he's here, sometimes he isn't. Tonight he won't be here. But our speaker tonight will be representative from Dobbs Ferry, representing Mayor Rosillo tonight, who actually couldn't make it at the very last minute. So Christy Nell is here in his place tonight. So she'll be giving us some updates from that. From Dobbs to all here. And then after we do that, we'll go through some of our old business to go over. Nick will take us through the introduction and motion to approve the new chamber board that has been nominated and approved by the board. And then we'll hand it off to Michelle, who will take us through, who's our new president after tonight, if it all goes according to plan. And she'll take us through the vision and everything else on our new business agenda tonight. So without further ado, why don't we just jump in and allow me to introduce Christy Nell, who, yes, is my sister-in-law, in speaking on behalf of Dobbs Ferry, and as she is one of the Dobbs Board of Trustees.
Hi guys, I'm Christy.
Hi, Christy. Hi. Hopefully you can all see her. I know we're on to it like a 2-page screen now, but
you can pin me. I'll be huge. You'll see all the features.
Yes, there we go.
So yeah, Vinny asked me late last night if I could take over for today. He had a work thing come up. So let me think of the updates in Dobbs that are exciting. The biggest thing that we have to report is our new consultant village administrator, who I think started today. Possibly yesterday, I'm not sure. We had Charlene Indelicato as our village administrator for a few years. She retired in June. We put Ed Manley, who was our building inspector, head of the building department. He was in as an interim village administrator while we did a search. It's not a great time to be doing a search, and nothing worked out in the search. So we hired this guy is like just so dreamy. His name is Richard Lines. And if we could hire him full time, we would, but he's retired. So he's like full on interim village administrator position, but we're really hiring him as a consultant to come in and hopefully help smooth some things that have been bumpy and analyze what we've been doing in some ways to improve our processes and make things better. He had been the city manager, which is like villages and cities have administrators and managers are more like the buck stops here CEO level type of manager, and we have an administrator, which means the mayor's actually higher. So the mayor is the one that the buck stops with in Dobbs. So he was like, you know, super in charge at both Ossining and Peekskill. And in his interviews, he just couldn't stop talking about how he worked with the businesses and the chambers and how they had really, you know, one had a really strong chamber, the other one wasn't so strong. And he just really he's going to be very engaged with that, which I'm very excited about. I was like texting heart emojis to the mayor during it. So he's with us, I believe, for 6 months. As hopefully we get through COVID and can do a better, more extensive search when people are actually willing and more able to move from one position to another and not leaving, you know, their municipality behind, which wouldn't, if we got somebody in that moment who was leaving their municipality, we had kind of issues with that anyway. So his name is Richard Lines, Leins. I think it might be Leans, but I can't remember how you pronounce it. But Vinny said that I should propose that he does a speaking engagement here with the chamber when it's our turn next. So I guess in 3 sessions, we need him to take some time to get, you know, get acquainted with the village staff and everything for the next couple weeks before he dives into like fix things in the downtown. But I want everybody in the chamber to be lining up any ideas they have for what we can be doing in the spring once everything starts to reopen. We want to try and get ahead of what the solutions can be and propose them and have him, you know, be working on them faster than we did in the fall. Like we you know, we put it together too much at the last minute, and it was a combination of a lot of things that happened in the village that made it so. So I want to try and make it so that we can do whatever we can in the capacity of the village to help all the businesses out as hopefully we start to reopen more, and what we can do to keep the downtowns vibrant, the multiple downtowns that we have in Dobbs Ferry. So that's the major thing that I think is major right now, is having him come in. Otherwise, in terms of development, we have some new developments on the horizon that were approved by the village board. We have 100 Mean, which is where the Lash House, which one's, they're currently in that building. But as far as I know, and Patty's on this call, I don't think that changes the retail situation, right? Like that stays the same. It's really just behind it that changes. And the other one that was approved was 41 Cedar, which is where Cafe Latte used to be and where Picolette currently is. So far, I don't believe they filed for a permit, so I don't know. I think it's not for a couple months after they file for a permit that any kind of demolition is going to happen, but that building will be demolished and replaced. So those storefronts will close when that happens. And part of what the approval, part of what they approved was they approved this 4th story to it, this partial 4th story, so that they didn't have to dig into the ground and therefore hopefully disrupt the downtown less with the construction, because they won't come up with whatever they dig up and have problems with. So the idea and the reason the board approved it was so that it would hopefully move faster, be less disruptive to the downtown, and be finished quicker, so that it doesn't disrupt and cause any additional problems. So those are the 2 main things. There's one being presented with the planning board currently that's on Ashford, that is where Choice Nails and Gallo, the Mexican restaurant, are. That I believe would take out those retail businesses so that they could get redone in some way. There would still be retail there, possibly. It's all up in the air. So I would just keep an eye on that in terms of what that could mean to that part of the business center of Dobbs on Ashford. And what else? Does anybody have any specific questions about what we're doing or anything to call out that you're hoping that we could do? Because that's the best thing that I can bring back and try and make happen. Michelle, you got any awesome ideas that we can just do? Like, can you just text them to me and we'll do them? Those are the best ones.
Yeah, this is great news. It's really exciting. I'm sure we're trying to kind of, now that we have a grant and some administrative help, we're trying to better define what we're going to do for this year. So I'm sure we'll be in touch. I did want to bring up, I know that Sergio and Kathy sent a message to the mayor asking about keeping the lights up, and also what the plan maybe was for the parklets. Not to put you on the spot, but has there been any conversation about it yet, or is it still?
I haven't heard anything about taking the lights down.
Okay.
So I don't see that being a problem. Like, no one's gonna say no.
Yeah.
And the parklets, I'm not sure what the question would be, like whether or not we can do it again in the spring. Because if that's something that if that's something people want, we can start pushing for that now and advocating for it.
Yeah. There's definitely some restaurants that are on board. And Kathy's point was just, it would be nice to know kind of what the plan is so that we can, plan ahead for it. Obviously, it was last minute for obvious reasons, but it'd be good to kind of know what the timeline might be and, and all of that. So
we can put that on his marching orders, like first thing, parklets.
Parklets.
I feel like he would be like, this is what we do. There you go. And we'd be like, oh, thank you. It's all we ever wanted.
The lights being taken down is on a calendar.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't happen unless somebody says, let's leave them up.
Got it. Okay. I'll email them right now and say, leave them up, because I didn't get that email. I just wanted to.
I think Sergio just sent it to village administrator and the mayor, with a few of us restaurants signed on to it also.
Okay.
Christy, how are the downtown businesses doing, restaurants and everybody else? And have you lost a lot of businesses? What's the temperature of things going on in downtown?
I don't think we've gotten new businesses. Thank you. Eyes on Hudson opened, and which is amazing that they opened during a pandemic.
Yep.
We lost quite a few. I should go back into our spreadsheet. We were at like 11% vacancy, and I'm sure it's closer to like 15 now. But we need to get either the downtown committee working on that or through the chamber, figure out who would be best at owning that push to try and fill the vacancies. But
some of the vacancies actually aren't really vacancies. The one that bothered me the most was losing Matt Campbell. But he's got, there are other people in there who
Butcher Girls. I know, I get their meat. They're amazing.
They really are cool. So hopefully we can kind of build on that. And they've said if I can find them a restaurant that's closing and has a hood, that they'd like to go in there because they want to do smoking on premises and all that stuff.
Do you know, Patty, about, I talked to Dennis about Celtic Corner.
Yep.
If you're in conversations with the Butcher Girls, because that's open, like nothing's going there yet. So if you know about, if that's the kind of space that they'd want, or is that too big?
I think the space would be fine with them, but I wouldn't want, I've talked to them several times trying to get them to think in terms of being a open business where you can walk in off the street and buy stuff.
Mm-hmm.
They do is by membership.
Right.
And it's really, they could be anywhere. They don't need to be on a main street. I wouldn't want to see them take a place like Celtic Corner if it wasn't an active, thing. So what I'd like to do is convince them they could always be in the back doing their thing and then have a retail front. And, I think they build a tremendous business that way. So, but I, of course, can't just tell them what to do. I try that all the time, Christy, and it just doesn't work.
I know. Me too. It just doesn't work. No one listens to me. But
and is Richard, is he from Peekskill?
I can't remember which one he was at last, whether it was Austining or Peekskill.
I think it was probably, he was the city manager of Peekskill.
Yeah.
And he did some really good things with the chamber there.
I know. That's what he was talking about. He's like, I worked with them real closely. We did all this fun stuff. And so, yeah, what's the chamber like around here? I'm like, you're going to love them. You're going to love someone who wants to work with the chamber.
Yeah, we're excited to talk to him. And Michelle will take us all through that vision about some ideas. Go ahead, Michelle.
What is it, Christy? What's the deadline for requesting budget funds from the? I know we've talked about this in the past and just not followed through with it. Or when does the budget?
I don't know what the deadline would be, but I would imagine sometime before March would be best, because that's when we start budget talks. So I think, you know, get us just the letter in February, like the same that River Arts does. Just get a letter and ask for it, because you can't get it if you don't ask.
Christy, a question just came up. Is the Downtown Dobbs Working Group still going, and is it Jess Galen who's?
Yeah, Jess Galen's the chair. I mean, it's going in that not much is happening with it. She's not doing much of it, anything right now, but she was about to meet with Ed to try and get back on track with our task force items.
Yes.
And then we replaced Ed. So she's
and I think
me to let her talk to Richard.
And I think that was going to be a question with getting the chamber in that part of that meeting too, or having a follow-up meeting. But there may be some requests for people to. Becca was asking about it because she might like to continue to work on that working group. So when that comes up. All right. Great. Anyone else have any questions for Christy about Dobbs?
Yeah, my only question, Christy, is what is the feeling, if you've heard anything from the other building owners on Cedar Street?
What is the feeling about what?
Have any of them put any feelers out there to see if they could kind of do the same thing that's going to be happening, say, across the street from them?
What do you mean?
So like the work that you guys are doing, that they're doing on Cedar Street, right?
Yeah.
That got approved? Or have any of the other building owners kind of put the feelers out on that street to see if there's anything else that say would get approved for their buildings? If they were to do.
I mean, Patty would probably know better, because they probably go to him before they come to the board. But I don't know of anything happening on Main and Cedar right now. I mean, we had heard that this stuff was happening on Ashford, and we know that Children's Village has always got like something that they want to talk about. But otherwise on Cedar and Main, it's pretty quiet.
Okay.
I know the guy who owns 41 Cedar. I've heard rumors, and I don't know where they come from, that he was trying to buy stuff across the street also, but nothing. I don't believe he actually bought anything.
Yeah, he tried to buy the buildings across the street. He also tried to buy Stolen Moments. And none of them were really interested in selling. The real key there is to get Stolen Moments. I mean, we got them all approved to operate as a live theater. And that was years ago. They've actually come back like 3 or 4 times. They've had people who are very interested in buying it and doing that, who seem like really cool people. But it never seems to make it all the way to an actual sale. It would be a game changer, I think, in terms of activity in the downtown. It would be, the Irvington Theater is probably the quietest, most remote, doesn't have a frontage really on the street. But when they're doing shows, it's fabulous for the businesses downtown. And of course, in Tarrytown, you've got the Tarrytown Theater, which is, really drives a lot of energy. So it could be a very good thing for the downtown.
And I'm not sure about the building that has Celtic Corner, and I don't know if they've listed anything or Dennis just mentioned that they were considering possibly listing it or something. Because they all were month to month. Like he had a month to month lease, and so does Sushi Miji. So, but then the pandemic happened. So I don't know where they stand. And that was partly why I was asking them about it. It's like, are they going to fill it with something, or is it just going to sit there empty? So anyone want to open a bar? It's ready to go.
Good to know. All right, awesome. Thank you so much, Christy. Thanks for jumping in. This is really informative. We're excited. Thank you for being here.
You're welcome. I probably said more than Vinny would have said, so I don't really, I very rarely know where the line is of where I'm allowed to say and not.
Well, thank you for sharing whatever you've shared with us. So that's awesome. All right, so let's move on to our old business on the agenda, which is about our new chamber board. I'll turn that over to Nick now.
So can everyone hear me? I just want to make sure because my microphone's not the best. All right. So I wrote a few things down, which I rarely ever do, but I felt that it was very important to do that today. I just, again, want to thank everybody for being here. You know, this is a special night because we're inducting a new board, but we're also celebrating a lot of firsts that we've had over the course of the past 3 years. So before I go into a little bit of that, I want to run through what the new chamber board, pretty much all we have to do is put it out there, see if there's any objections to it, to any of the members that we have on here that want to come on board. And as long as everybody is good with it, I need a motion to approve it, a second, and then we can essentially do it. So I don't know, does everyone have the list up, or do you want me to run through everything?
Hopefully everyone has the list from that link. I can share the link again if in case anyone needs it, or there was also the PDF in the chat box.
So so the board met last week and the board approved this, and we just need the membership final say without any objection again. So what would occur is Michelle would move from vice president to president. I would move from the president role to the immediate past president role, which is more an advisory role over the board. The vice president position is still open. So if you know anybody that would like to get involved, we are looking for folks.
I haven't talked to him yet. I've emailed him. Don't worry
Patty's already on it. Look at that.
Patty,
Look at that.
Patty can. All right, I muted him. Okay.
I was gonna say Dennis O'Brien from Celtic Corner was our other VP, and unfortunately, with his business closing down, he stepped down from that role. Dina is coming on as treasurer, which is awesome. Kate's coming on as secretary, which is fantastic. She's kind of been in that role side-handedly for a while, so it's about time we make it official. Heather is going to be the Ardsley Village Rep #1, working with government affairs. And then the community affairs rep, we don't have a position filled for yet. But again, if you know somebody, that would be great. Dobbs Ferry, Kristen James is going to come on as the government affairs person, and Patty's going to remain on as the community involvement chair. And then in Hastings, we're going to have Joanna as government affairs, and Ellen will be the community liaison. The Irvington, there's one position open. I thought my business partner, Mike, was going to be able to take it, but he actually is maintaining his position as the president of the Scarborough Chamber, who's going to try and push forward in 2021. So that's awesome. And then Janet Kovacs is going to be our Irvington Village Rep #2 as a community liaison. And then for committees, we have a newly formed, finally making it happen, Young Professionals Under 40, which our new member Sasha has agreed to take on as co-chair, and Chris Gomez also has agreed to take on, which is fantastic. Tourism is Laura Plunkett right now. She's moving from secretary to the tourism role. The second chair is open if anybody would like to get involved. You'd be working with Natasha from the county government, which Michelle will also go into later. We have Alexandra as Women in Business, also another great committee that we finally were able to put together. And then Alyssa Hecker, who I've been badgering for years to join something on our board, so thank you for doing that. And then Minority Owned Business, which is awesome. We have Ramona Sedona, and then we have Tony Kim from GoSu. And then our membership committee was actually the first committee that we made that had 5 people on it, and people have since moved on. So those seats are both open. If you'd like to get involved with that one, it would be a big help. Just, with doing dues and keeping people involved and whatnot. It's a very important committee to have. So with that said, are there any objections? No? All right. Can I get a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Second? Tony, second it? All right. I get to use this. Finally. Approved. Congratulations.
Congratulations. Welcome, everyone.
So now let me just go into what I wanted to say, because again, this has been the vision that we have had for the past 3 years of making all of this happen and everything come together. And, just like I said before, it's celebration of first, where, we had an idea of, hey, let's move out from Dobbs Ferry and bring in all 4 villages. And then it was, all right, let's see if we can coordinate all the villages to do all of their events together. And then we had this first trolley that we did where people were able to actually go through the different villages on Small Business Saturday and shop and eat. And then we had, the first Pride event where, again, we were able to take the trolley around through the villages where people are able to shop and eat and hang with their friends. We partnered, we had the first Rivertowns Public Market in the Dobbs waterfront, where we partnered Rivertowns Public Market. It was the first major foodie event in the Rivertowns, which was awesome. We did it 2 years in a row. Would have done it as the third, but unfortunately with the pandemic, we couldn't. We also worked with On the Line to fight food insecurity for the first time ever through the first pandemic that any of us have ever experienced in our lifetimes, which hopefully will be the last pandemic. And one of the greatest things that we've done, I feel, is hiring Elizabeth as our first executive director. That's something that was a really long-term vision of ours, and we were able to do it in a pandemic, really within 2 years of setting that goal. So, like I said, we've had a lot of firsts over the past 3 years. I think these are just the first of the first to come. To the current board, I just want to say thank you all for all your help. There is no way any of this would have happened without you. To all of the volunteers, to the committee members we've had, same thing. None of this would have happened without all of your time and commitment. To the new board, I say I look very forward to working with you and to fulfilling the rest of the goals that we've had for the past couple of years, and that we hope to fulfill with the vision that Michelle has going forward. And to Michelle, hold on, I get a little choked up. I just want to say thanks for showing the new kid the ropes, because 3 years ago when we were sitting at the meeting and Maggie said she was stepping down, I remember everyone just turned around in the room and looked at the two of us, and you looked at me and said, I'm not doing it, you're doing it. So thank you for helping me stumble through this. It's been a wild ride, and I just want to say, because I know you all got one sitting there, here's the 2021, here's to the new board. Congratulations, guys. It's going to be great.
Cheers to that.
For sure.
Thank you, Nick. And so without further ado, let's hand it over to our new chamber president, Michelle Adams, to take us from there.
Thank you. Thank you, Nick. And I got your, Nick sent me a gift in the mail today.
Oh, that was the last thing. I have to officially pass the gavel. There you go.
Yeah. I got it.
We're remotely going to do it.
I was like, what did I order from Amazon? And I was a nice surprise. So thank you. So yeah, I'm taking over this year. We had a board meeting last week where I went in detail with the new board, kind of what our plan is for this year. And I'd like to just go over that a little more briefly than I did with the board. So I shared that document in the chat. If you guys want to open it, it's called the Rivertowns Chamber 2021 Vision. So just really high level to kind of explain our main goals for this year. Obviously, economic recovery. I think that, in the beginning, in March, when all this started happening, Nick and I looked at each other being volunteers and not having any paid staff and having our own, business issues to deal with. And we were just like, what can the chamber do? And now coming almost a year around, we've seen that the pandemic actually was helpful in creating opportunities. So we're grateful for, that happening. And it really, I think, caused everybody to kind of rethink, how we need to work together. It kind of I think everybody's kind of reconsidering what a small business is and what they mean to their communities versus, corporations, and what small businesses need. So it's actually been a positive for the chamber and caused a lot of all of this stuff to come together. And so we're hoping to build on that. And with really the goal this next year is to support businesses, to drive people and funds to the businesses in the Rivertowns and support them, keep them open as best we can as a chamber. So the few ways that we can do that is one, to source funding, both to sustain the chamber and that we could spend at our local businesses, to build our network more, especially with the community at large and like the residents, and then put together kind of a plan for 2022 so we can hit the ground running, hopefully have some budgets and funding lined up for some of the big initiatives we'd like to do when people start going out again, back to normal, whatever that means. So for funding, we're constantly monitoring grants that are related to COVID and economic recovery. We're going to be, in the past, we've thrown this idea around asking villages to support the chamber in some way, and we'll be looking into that again this year. We also, Sherry had mentioned we were awarded a grant that we can specifically use to help with some administrative tasks for the chamber. And the way that we're going to use those funds is obviously to have our executive director. We're going to dive back into social media, have a better, email campaign management, which we've wanted to do for a long time, but now we have the staff to support that. Event support, online event support, membership engagement, any kind of design and print materials we might need for the year. And one of the things we said when we got this grant was, we're going to do all of these initiatives, but how do we multiply the funds? I said the same thing with the, community table grant is we need to section off some of this money to really try and multiply it, create a marketing campaign or something that's going to continue to bring funds into the chamber. So, we're going to try to use the staff that we have to develop an annual appeal for the first time ever. Funding opportunities for businesses, like I said, not just kind of communicating those, but also advocate. If Christy was on the call, she would let you know that I kind of hounded her until the county decided to do the community table grant. And I'm hounding them again to do another round now that those funds are exhausted. So things like that, we're definitely behind the scenes kind of, giving them as much information as possible and trying to advocate for what businesses need right now from the local government. So that's kind of the plan for funding. The building the network part of it is really having this board in place and a lot of the positions filled out that we've wanted to fill out for a long time. So our village reps, getting to know, other community orgs in each village, as well as being more involved with the village administration. Membership, the main goal for membership this year, we had been talking about kind of like, what can the chamber do for members and how do we communicate that? We're trying to scale back and, do some very specific targeted things, just so that, we can use the funds very carefully. So the main goal of membership is going to be just to reach out to people and try to get them to join, and then create that kind of network within the community, try to build a email list of actual residents and offer up that as a way for businesses to promote themselves. So a 4-village email list that members can send us, something, promotion that they're doing that they want to send to that email list will be a big focus for us this year. Optional dues, we'll talk about that in a minute. I won't go into detail on that. And then 3 committees that we formed where we thought were areas we really needed to focus on. We needed to kind of hear from these businesses, maybe even identify, opportunities for people who are thinking about opening a business to join the chamber in these committees and you know, and get more involved. So those 3 areas were minority owned, women owned businesses, and businesses under 40. And then the last piece of it for this year is starting to develop a tourism campaign, which is something that I have been talking about for a long time. You know, I think it makes sense to you think about drawing visitors in 2022. So the goal is going to be to research this year, to assemble a coalition with those organizations that our village reps are going to be getting to know, and kind of getting everybody involved in what does the Rivertowns have to offer to visitors, and develop a plan and a budget, figure out potential sources of funding, and really be ready to launch that in 2022. As far as events this year, you know, obviously we're kind of planning to keep things online, maybe a few very specific networking events if that comes out of the minority, women-owned, and under 40 businesses. Specific, you know, kind of networking things, but really not trying to spend too much time on events. We're trying to be targeted and really make sure that we're getting as much information out there. We're advocating as much as we can for businesses. And then 2022 events, obviously, you know, getting ourselves set up to do as many of those as we can. You know, can we bring the trolley back? Can we, you know, do Rivertown Public Market again? Can we, you know, all of those things? Is there a new event, you know, that, you know, would be great for businesses in 2022, and getting our ducks in a row for that and be ready to go next year. So that's it for the vision. The next agenda item are the dues. We're going to be working on sending out renewal invoices for this year. Last year, dues were optional, and we're going to carry that on this year. So we'll send an invoice to everyone, and you'll have to reach out to, is it Elizabeth or Dina? We're going to have them reach out to.
So just as long as,
You can-
as long as they email the info at, it'll go to Elizabeth.
It'll go.
Yeah, I think it should all go to the info@rivertownschamber.com email, the general email, and I'll sort it from there. But people will have to let us know if they're choosing and not able to pay this year.
So basically, you're gonna get an invoice that was the same invoice that went out in 2020. If you can pay it, great. If you can't, reach out to Elizabeth and we'll figure something out.
So, you know, we understand that people can't, you know, some businesses aren't in a position to pay dues. We still want you to be members, and even signing up new members. This may be an opportunity for the chamber to get more membership, because, you know, we want you to join. We want you to be promoted on our website. We want, you know, to get everybody kind of working together as a business community. So it's, you know, it's optional, but then the chamber is going to need funds to kind of continue these initiatives and function, you know, really efficiently. So if anybody is in a position to pay dues, we ask that you do. And we're going to keep the same structure that we started last year, which was the working memberships. So there's the full membership amount. There's a 50% discount if you're a working member, which last year we had a bunch of areas defined for that. We're going to just narrow it down this year to serving in a position. So either you're a member of a committee, or you're a chair, or you're a board member. Very specifically, we kind of just need all hands on deck to spread the work out and not make the work this year a burden on anyone. You know, we're gonna try to get as many numbers as we can to move the chamber forward as much as possible. And so if you do opt out of paying dues, then you would just be put into the working membership category automatically. So you can opt out of dues, but we still ask that you serve on a committee or even chair a committee if because we still have a couple of positions open there. Any questions about memberships or dues or anything like that before I move on? What a working membership is, everybody clear? I think. Okay. Let's see, a new member welcome. I don't think I have, do I have that list, Elizabeth?
I have it if you need me to do it.
Did you send it in an email? You want to do it, Nick, if you have it up?
Yeah, I've got it up.
All right.
So we had a bunch of new members come in this month, which was fantastic. We have Caitlin Rogerson from Eyes on Hudson. We have Kristen James from the Leap Creative Strategies. We have Melinda, I'm sorry, I'm going to mispronounce your name. Chapelier, is that correct? Okay. From Corcoran Realty. We have Fabian Beard Wright from Liftoff Special Programming. Monica Taylor from Monica Taylor Coaching. Ed Clough from Ed Clough Esquire. And Sarah Davidson from Picture Book LLC.
Do any of the new businesses want to usually allow, like, you know, if you have a couple of things you want to say in the interest of time, you know, like a minute or so. So does anybody want to speak up and say anything? New businesses? Introduce yourself. If I leave the pause long enough, maybe somebody will. Okay, that's fine. All right, so moving on to community news. I'll start because I've been the one that's also been administering the On the Line program. For anybody that's not familiar with it, the Chamber applied for a county grant last year and was awarded funds to purchase meals and gift certificates from restaurants in the 4 villages and work with some of our local food relief orgs to distribute those meals and those gift certificates. That we exhausted, the grant period ended and we exhausted all of the funds in the middle of December. And we launched a GoFundMe campaign to continue the meals. We're doing pretty well on the GoFundMe campaign. There's a Facebook group called Westchester Foodies that's done their own kind of spin-off fundraiser for it, which has been very successful. I was able to get a significant donation from Tito's Vodka, which is exciting. And now, Kate, we have that contact for Rivertown Public Market, which I know we'll be excited about. But we've, you know, it takes a lot of money to be able to purchase these meals or these gift certificates from restaurants. And today we had a round of meals go to the Dobbs Ferry Food Pantry and have exhausted everything that we've raised on our own so far. So we're going to be asking, you know, other businesses to maybe help promote this. If, you know, we'll send out a flyer, if you're willing to send it to your email list, just to kind of spread the word and maybe get people to help donate. Tony, who's on the call from GoSue, who's also participated as a restaurant, has been really great at getting the word out as kind of our poster child for helping to promote it. So thank you, Tony. I think that's it for that on our updates on the grant funds. I am, like I said, pushing the county to do another round. I'm after Sherry, and we got a lot of testimonials, which we're hoping to start sharing on social media once we get a new social media person in place for the chamber. So you'll start to see some of those. It's been really, the program was meant to help restaurants and to feed people, but if you start to read those testimonials, you'll see that it's not just about that. It's a kind of almost a social justice issue. I mean, it really lifted people's spirits. People could use the gift certificates to celebrate, an anniversary, which they wouldn't have otherwise been able to do. So it's been really great to see all of that come out of it, on top of just, helping people with funds. So. The next item are talking about small business grants and loans. And since I've been talking a lot, Elizabeth, do you want to talk about those?
Yeah, sure. I'm happy to do that. Yeah, so there, you've probably been seeing occasional emails from us anytime we get information from the county or Westchester Catalyst or any of the places that are sharing information about grants and loans. We're trying to pass that along to all of you. These are a few that probably have been in emails we've sent, but they'll be noted again in this week's monthly newsletter. Several, and these should all be clickable links if you're within the file, if you're interested in any of these. There's several of them that are catering more towards the restaurant and bar industry. There's the Shuttered Venue Operators Grant for any other types of venues. But then there's also, things like the SBA Express Bridge loans, which the Small Business Administration, which is, I guess, to help. I can read that to you. If you already have a business relationship with a Small Business Administration Express lender, it gives you access to up to $25,000 quickly with this loan. Now that's a loan, it's not a grant, but again, that's one that's, I think all part of looking at getting loans forgiven. Don't quote me on that because there's a lot of different ones out there. And there's also, I'm sure you've been seeing all the PPP loans that are open right now. If you haven't, keep an eye out in the newsletter to links to all that. But there are a lot of grants and opportunities out there, and we're going to continue sharing them. These are just, some of the most recent that we've just gotten reminded about this week. So keep an eye out for that. And then the other one, Shari had shared this earlier, but I know she had to leave. The Zuckerberg Institute Student Task Force. This was the one that was kind of interesting. Paul Feiner had shared this. It's a high school students in the Greenberg area have the opportunity to interact with the nation's most prominent business leaders as part of the Zuckerberg-Greenberg post-pandemic partnership. Essentially, it's saying that it's this opportunity for highly motivated high school students to save struggling businesses in the town of Greenberg that have been, businesses that have been substantially disrupted by COVID. And these students are going to have access to and guidance from some of the world's leading minds in leadership and business. And so successful applicants, if you have any high school students that meet this requirement or anyone, they would join Randy Zuckerberg and her team to produce positive change in their own neighborhoods while growing into innovators ready to change the world. So just putting that out there. And again, that's linkable in the agenda, and it'll be in there if anyone knows of anyone. So that's kind of it for the overview on that. But again, you can click through, read more about any of those. So does anyone have any questions for Michelle on any of the vision stuff, or we can just open it up for any general questions, and in our last few minutes, if anybody wants to share anything else.
Just quick question, Michelle. What projection do we have right now on when we'd be able to start thinking in terms of things? Are we thinking potentially fall, or you don't think so?
For events?
Yeah.
I mean, my gut feeling is that we probably won't have any kind of in-person event promotion except for maybe some kind of thing during the holiday season to promote shopping. I mean, I don't see us planning a Rivertown Public Market or a trolley event, but I'd like to start having the conversations for 2022 now and start planning for that. I'd rather kind of spend our resources and our time planning for something that's going to be a little bit more sure, as opposed to planning for something that might get canceled this year and then kind of shifting to figure out how to do it next year. So sure. I'm trying to keep economy of movement. I'm trying to keep us very focused and specific and realistic, and I think that there's a lot of opportunity, untapped opportunity that the chamber has to really reach out to the community and to do a lot of things online that we haven't been able to do in the past. Now we can, because we have this grant for administrative funds, and we're going to be able to do a lot of social media and email promotion that we haven't been able to do, which will be helpful this year in lieu of doing in-person events.
I think we should watch it though, because with the vaccines and all, we should, we've gotten a lot of people saying, are we going to do something when? Because, they're asking that we bring energy back to the village.
Yeah, I get it. I mean, Kate and I are the queens of low budget fun events, AKA the trolley events. Yeah. So we certainly are not, afraid of pulling something together like that. But
sure.
As a restaurant person, and kind of this whole time, and when you talk to other restaurant people, we all kind of agree that we feel like we have a good temperature on people's, comfort levels. And even with a vaccine, there's just, the events aren't going to come back this year like we know them to. I think we have a better chance of that next year. And just so obviously, like I said, for our kind of purposes and trying not to take on too much, I think it's better that we just plan for next year. But yeah, I think it's not out of the question that we'll do something around the holiday season. It's just, we're not planning on something really, really big.
I have a question, Michelle.
Yeah.
And also maybe Joanna might have some insight too, because of your history with the food journalism and Westchester. What about the idea of, I saw that that White Plains is doing this month, they're doing their own restaurant month, just for the restaurants in White Plains, and Yonkers is doing a takeout month or week. I have to look. Yeah, it's like from the 25th of January to February 6th. They're doing takeout week. They have about 11 restaurants downtown involved. Now, of course, everyone has been taking out so much and been very supportive of the restaurants. But how do you, that could be like an overarching 4-village thing. I'm just curious if you guys think that's a good idea or if it's too repetitive with Hudson Valley Restaurant Week. And what's your take as a restaurant owner? I'm just curious.
Do you want to go, Joanna? I don't want to talk over you if you want to say anything.
Sorry, I mean, my entire business is based on takeout right now, so I don't know. I don't know that I have much to. I feel like even the restaurants that I interact with on a regular basis have moved in that direction, whether they wanted to or not.
Yeah, and I don't know if a takeout weeks,
Yeah, I think it would have to be, I'm not opposed to the idea. I think it would have to be from an operational perspective. The thing about the restaurant weeks is that it's volume. So it definitely wouldn't be something that we would want to encourage in-person dining in right now. We opted out of Restaurant Week for the first time ever in the fall, our businesses in particular. And we spoke to other restaurants that did participate who kind of were like, why are we doing this? Because it's just not, I think the restaurant industry as a whole, is kind of recoiling from things that it's not just about it being, cheaper than what you would normally charge for food. It's just when a restaurant has to pivot from takeout to dine in and whatever it is that we're pivoting to, it's like opening a whole new restaurant. I mean, you have to completely redo the menu and test things. And then when you launch it, there's always hiccups. A lot of restaurants that, aren't built for takeout are having issues with figuring out how to manage that demand and also be open indoors. So I think it just, I think that, maybe our focus might be better on building that list of community members. And when there's a big push for Mother's Day, making sure that we're helping to get those Mother's Day menus out to people who live in the Rivertowns through an email list that we've built. So personally, I would like to spend, time on that, but I'm not opposed to it if restaurants or members wanted to kind of step up and do something like that, that was geared towards takeout. Absolutely. Like Nick and I, have always said, if you have an idea, the chamber is here so that you can run with it. We have resources to help you run with that. And now this year, even more than last year's, we have, a lot of resources to help you run with it. So obviously, if you hear that from anybody, have them reach out to us, Barb. But I don't know, I don't want to speak for all the restaurants, but it's just kind of the temperature that I have of the people that I'm familiar with in the Rivertowns.
Miguel's got his hand up.
Go ahead, Miguel. You can unmute yourself.
Thank you. Miguel La Cruz from Wild Culture Waffles in Hastings. Thank you so much for inviting me. This is great. So I agree with Joanna. Like takeout, it's the main source of income right now for us. One thing though that we should worth thinking or talking about as the season change, and it will be great to start planning earlier, is we also need to think about the kids. Like they are locked in an apartment, in a house, and taking over the street for the kids so they can bike and skate Saturday and a Sunday on spring or the weekend, the entire weekend. That will boost the restaurants around because people can take out and then eat it on the street, so the kids can run around it's not necessarily, we don't need to have bouncy castle, of course, COVID. We can't do that right now. They all need is the streets. They can skate, they can rollers. My daughter is obsessed with roller skates right now. Kids will take over family. So if we can do a family-oriented schedule of closing streets where we know it's safe in terms of if we keep social distancing, being outside, it's safe. And that will keep the community connected in a way, even though we're like wearing masks and stuff, we can see each other. And at the same time, we can, restaurants around can do social media marketing around that date. And that, I bet, is going to boost everybody's sales. And I love skateboarding. I can rally the skating community in Hastings, which is very it's very active, and they will be pushing for that for sure too. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, Barb, I think that if you're thinking about continuing the kind of street events that you were doing last year, obviously the chamber is here to help promote that and support that any way we can. And that might be something for the village representatives to push with other villages. I think we tried it in Dobbs. We have to be aware of the retail businesses and what works for them. Also, maybe it's a Sunday that we do instead of a Saturday or whatever that is. But I definitely think we would, love if you would do those events again and let us know how we can support you. I think you're
Barb, I think you're muted, Barb.
Yes, definitely. Thank you. Thank you, Michelle. And definitely planning to do them again in lieu of much else that we can plan, and probably the drive-in movies again that you guys did in Dobbs as well. And Miguel, I love that idea. And, I agree with Michelle too, that, it's tough when we closed a Saturday during the day, any streets where there are other retail businesses, a lot of them depend on the in and out traffic. So it's hard. But that being said, I know Joanna's done some successful events in her circle for young people. And then there's the Chase Bank lot that might be free on a Saturday. Maybe we can think about, finding a few spots to do it in, but yet leave the main thoroughfare open, yeah.
I'm sorry, just one more second. I have to disagree in terms of the retail will also benefit because, listen, in America, we're used to like parking spot, right? We get in the car and park in front of the store that we want to get and buy something. Although people can park in all the parking available in Hastings and walk, and they may, the street is closed. Okay, I'll park here and then I close. And not only the retail store that they had in mind, they wanted to go will be benefit, but also the stores that are on the way to that retail store that they have the idea of going because they're going to have to walk.
Right. Yeah.
So I don't buy that, but listen, I understand also your position and
yeah. It's complicated, but certainly downtowns with pedestrian malls and things, work in many places. But then there are people who feel really strongly that people are picking up their pickups and their convenience items, and yeah, it's tricky. But you have to balance everybody's needs. It's all give and take, and you don't do it all the time. And maybe you find a way to compromise.
I can say, Miguel, I've had my shop for 5 years, and we've done plenty of downtown events, and there are a handful of businesses that are not food like you and me that complain vociferously when we do them. Yeah, they completely disagree with the concept and feel like we're taking valuable business time away from them. So the village has spent a lot of time carefully threading that needle over the last few years.
True. Doesn't mean we can't, you know.
I do like the kind of concentrated, and I have been thinking about the similar thing, Barb, is like concentrated kind of things that we can do also. Like in my head, I don't want to say it out loud because I don't want to make it a thing, but I was thinking about us with St. George and Joanna and Mods, like that parking lot. Maybe we should have a South Side block party or something there, you know, like those little kind of like micro pop-ups, which I was on the Dobbs Ferry downtown committee doing research. And that was one of the things that kept popping up as themes for what's happening to retail and downtowns, is that micro events, pop-up kind of shop things are what's starting to happen in lieu of kind of the standard retail spaces that, you know, you see on streets. So that's something to think about too, is those kind of really small, curated, interesting kind of things, as well as, you know, the big close the streets and everybody can just kind of have fun and hang out. So
you're saying
all of those, yeah.
Pop-ups have been popping up? You just said that what's been popping up is this idea about having pop-ups. So I thought that was good. The pop-ups are popping up.
Lots of popping up.
Yeah, I mean, we've had very good success with what you're talking about, as you know. I mean, when we did the pop-up at 75 Main 2 years in a row for the holidays, incredibly successful. It didn't necessitate closing streets, and we got a tremendous amount of people coming to the downtown. So all scales. Miguel, you and I can talk about that a lot. I've never seen so many people angry at me, no matter what I did, when it came to the Festas. Half the people would be saying that their business was being destroyed. That weekend that I picked was the busiest day of the year. And then one year I actually said, if people don't want to do it, we'll close it. And then everybody got very mad because they started saying this is our most successful day of the year. So you're not going to win it. You got to balance it and have a couple, but don't get upset when people yell at you.
Great. I know we're over time, so thanks all for hanging around. Any other last comments or questions? Or
I have a really quick one, Michelle. We are having our meeting Tuesday night for the Sustainability Task Force. And one of the last things that we were doing before COVID hit was organizing the trolleys. And we had most of the organization institutions and Dobbs signing on. So we had Masters and Mercy and Rivertown Square, I think we had 9 entities that were willing to participate and try and organize a trolley system that ran on a regular basis. Is that something that we want to start rekindling?
Let me unmute myself. Yes, definitely. Yes.
I'll take it back. I think they were a good venue for it because they're not the business side of it. They're the sustainability side. So I'll go back to them on Tuesday night and see if we can get that flowing again, because I think that's a game changer too.
I do too. And I think for tourism, that's a piece of it. That'll fit into the kind of tourism piece of it is, yes, it's great for residents, but also how can that then evolve into something that we can use for visitors? So.
Yeah. Well, we're looking at 3 trolleys that the village, that some entity would own, supported in a way by the village, but not financially. And what we were looking at was that would be really running during the 5 days of the week. And then on the weekends, we have 3 trolleys. So the idea of being able to run those between the 4 villages and have that just a way to get around without cars, it just seems like a really fun opportunity.
Yeah, definitely. Were they thinking of like electric?
Well, I so endeared myself to this company that makes these that I actually get a Christmas card now from them, picture of their latest trolley. So we've got, the idea is electric trolleys, they're rubber tire vehicles. They're not, they don't have the tracks or anything, but they look like trolleys and they are easy on and off. And the whole idea that we were looking at was trying to run this in a way that would be supported financially by the institutions, so there wouldn't be any charges, so you didn't have the time lost taking tolls or, fares or anything like that. And anybody who was going someplace could jump on. Dobbs is a great walking community one way. You know, if you're walking down to the train station, it's great. Walking back up is not so great. So the idea of being able to make it a more walkable community with that, and of course, all the villages are basically, they have the same situation.
Yes. Let me know.
Cool.
Yeah, where I can fit in there, or the chamber can fit in there. Miguel, were you going to say something about that?
Yeah, and I don't want to take away, I know we're running out of time. The trolley event in 2019 was the most busy day on record in my small business. It was unbelievable. And I think that trolley, if it can be a thing, it can bring people from the city. Because they can't pay one ticket in the train, but then they get 4 towns and an entire day of fun.
Yeah, that was when we did those trolley events, it was definitely like we were planting, the idea was we were planting the seed. We were kind of making everybody go like, oh, this would be great if we had this all the time, and we wanted to build the momentum on that. And then obviously, you know, we lost it. But yes, I think we can get back into that. It would be great if we could do one at the end of the year again.
And if they can be electric, oh my God, we got the New York Times headline.
Yes, it would.
It's totally not lost. It's actually something that I get people asking me about. Maybe once every 2 weeks, somebody will be talking. They'll say, "Are you doing anything with the trolleys? That was such a cool deal." So I think everybody's getting. It's actually all this time that they haven't been able to do things like that. They're starting to think that's the way to make it work in the future.
Great.
Cool.
Thank you.
I thought, am I muted? No. If you have 2 more secs, I just wanted to share, Ellen and I were talking earlier this week about maybe sharing the response to the gift card campaign that we started in Hastings. If you're just curious about it, I have the numbers. So 200 gifts were sent from the end of November until now. And of those 200 gifts, you know, they can only be used at the 40 stores that have signed on so far. It's a rolling sign up thing, so anyone can still join, but and 3 people who are part of that program are on this call, which is Wild Culture and The Good Witch and Pennylick. And in any case, so far, over $7,000 of gifts have been sent to people locally, and of that, 1,500 have been redeemed. So there's plenty out there that will still come back. 15, you know, what I just say, 77,000, so 5,500 are in people's pockets and wallets, and will still be. You know, and so, but a couple people just said, can I still get those? So now the next messaging has to go out that they're available year round. We'll promote Valentine's Day, and maybe I'll do some kind of posting and promoting of, you know, all the places you can use them, and remind the people they're really no good until someone uses them, you know, that they've got them in their pocket and they can spend them. So.
Well, you've got the biggest holiday of the year coming up in a month and a half.
You know, where are we? Where am I? I'll say Patty's Day.
If you have any, I think that is a good point that you made, that they're, you know, not usually with a business, there's a certain percentage that don't get used, but it doesn't matter because they've already made that purchase at the business. So I think that would be a good thing if you're able to put out some communication reminding people that they actually have to now use them for it to benefit the businesses. Because that's something that happens with gift cards.
The businesses are going to benefit
forget about them.
Yeah, and I know a lot of them don't tend to not get used even when they're bought from a business, and you guys have to like kind of keep a line item for that. But in the meantime, they will also start after a year. They will start reminding, and maybe sooner, but they will start reminding people. The company itself will send reminders for people to use them, and they'll start subtracting a small fee after a year if they don't. But as soon as it's used, even for like 50 cents or whatever, a dime, it's good for another year without any subtractions. But this way, it's motivating. Obviously, it's a little bit of income for the host company, but it's also motivating people to use it. So yeah, it's all work in process. But just wanted to share.
Barbara, Sasha, one of our members, was just asking if there's still information to share, like if people are you still selling them, or for, and just to clarify, Sasha, right now this gift card program is only in Hastings. It's for Hastings stores and retails.
You know, I'll put
I don't know.
Chat too, so
Yeah, can you put the link in the chat for the information about it? But it's something we've started talking to. I mean, we'd love to be able to find a way to have all of our Rivertowns villages have a program like this. It's a complicated thing, again, to get who's going to manage it and take it on. Maybe we can talk with our new Dobbs Village administrator, because, you know, that might be something.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Yeah. Elizabeth, it's a certain amount of setup work for sure, because it takes a lot of hand cording and then setting up with the portal. Yeah. But once it's up and running, it becomes more of a marketing thing. And the company's been really, really great to work with. So if anyone wants to, know more about this company and the other villages, or, through the chamber, I'm happy to, share.
Yeah, it's a great program. So thanks for that update.
You're welcome. Thanks.
All right. Anyone else with anything? No? Awesome. Well, thanks for sticking it out. You've all been here a long time, and we've had some great conversations and really excited. We got some good momentum going for 2021. I think we're going to do some fun stuff this year, even while we can't have in-person things.
Terrific. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks everyone for coming. And
Congrats
thank you,
again,
Nick,
guys.
for
Have a good night.
Thanks for your service, Nick.
Yeah.
Thank you, Nick.
Yeah.
Thank you. My pleasure.
Bye.
Bye, everyone. Bye-bye.